So, Alhamdulillah, we are on Juz 10, and in this Juz, of course, there are two surahs that are covered mainly. One surah is Surah Al-Anfal, and the other surah is Surah Al-Tawbah. So, inshallah, I'm just going to talk about Surah Al-Tawbah. In Surah Al-Tawbah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about the battle of Tabuk. In this battle, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he goes into battle against the Romans and in the Byzantine Empire. In this surah, Allah mainly concerns with us, the munafiqeen, the hypocrites basically. The hypocrites are those who, they outwardly believe in the word of Allah, but in their hearts they had darkness and they didn't believe in Allah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions a couple of characteristics about the munafiqeen in this surah. And the reason He does this is not for us to simply read it and to mock the munafiqeen during that time. It is rather an opportunity for us as an ummah to look into ourselves and interrogate whether some of these characteristics fall into our own personalities. So one of the first characteristics that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned is that essentially all the munafiqeen, what they would do is that they would do lams. Lams meaning they would belittle or they would mock the believers during that time. And whatever good that they did, they would basically minuscule it, basically, essentially, saying that, you know, what's the good of doing that, what's the good of doing this? Another characteristic that the munafiqeen used to do during that time is that they would always make excuses regarding doing ibadat and accompanying the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So during that time, during the battle, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he called out to all the Muslims to come join that battle. And of course, the hypocrites, they didn't join that battle simply because they were making excuses, and what they were doing was they were blaming their circumstances that they were given, essentially. Now, of course, there are those Muslims who really don't have the certain circumstances, and they have legitimate excuses where they can't accompany the Prophet during that time. So what Allah does in the next few ayahs, He reassures us by saying, for those who don't have the resources, the abilities, but they have the sincerest intentions, with them they will receive the full reward. And Allah mentions that by mentioning the story of the two men who tried to accompany the Prophet ﷺ, but they could not because they didn't have legitimate excuses. Going off of that, in this ayah you can see that there's a very important message saying that intention, niyat, is very important and is very powerful. Going off of that, the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that the munafiqin, if they had the sincerest intentions, what they would do with those intentions is that they would do la'udu lahul udda. Essentially meaning they would prepare for the preparation. They would have done extra preparation for that battle. And what I want to do is I want to take away this very important phrase that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, because He could have just said preparation, but instead He double downs on it and He emphasizes preparation. We should take this with us in our modern day lives, be it social life, work life, and especially spiritual life in Ramadan. Whenever we have a plan, a goal, or any event that's going to happen, we want to make sure that we are preparing ourselves to the best ability that we can. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, as if you do these two things, having the intention and then preparing, and of course having trust in Allah, regardless of the outcome, you will be victorious, especially in Allah's sight. And for the munafiq, what they would have is, when the believers, they would lose, they would be happy and they would win. If the believers won, they would be sad. For us, Allah is basically giving us a win-win situation. As long as we do these two things and we have trust in Allah, we will win regardless of the situation. We either achieve that goal and we win, or if we may fall short a bit. To us, we may not realize that we're victorious, but in Allah's sight, we're victorious, and that's all that matters. So I just wanted to take away the fact that these two things, that the 10 days of Ramadan are done. We have 2/3 of the Ramadan left. Whatever goals we have, especially during the last 10 nights, use these next 10 days to prepare ourselves for those 10 nights. If you want to pray qiyam, if you want to recite a couple of ayahs of the Quran, do it now so you can be ready for the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And inshallah, I pray and I ask Allah to protect us from being one of the munafiqeen, from being one of the hypocrites, to forgive us for any signs of hypocrisy that we may have done in our past life, and to forgive us for any of our shortcomings and to accept any of our shortcomings of ibadah that we may have in this Ramadan. Assalamu alaikum.